Life, in its quiet, unassuming way, had carved out a predictable rhythm for me. My name is Rita, and at 29, I found solace in the familiar embrace of the local library in our small, gossipy town. It wasn't a life of grandeur or excitement, but it was mine and I cherished it. The library, with its towering shelves of dusty tomes and the soft rustle of turning pages, was my sanctuary. Books were my steadfast companions, their stories a refuge from the mundane. I had no desire for the spotlight. I was content to linger in the shadows, unnoticed and unbothered. Our town was the kind where secrets traveled faster than the wind, and everyone knew your story before you had a chance to tell it. My days followed a steady, unchanging pattern. Wake up, head to the library, and return to my modest apartment, a cozy space cluttered with secondhand furniture and stacks of novels that teetered like miniature skyscrapers. My social life was virtually non-existent, a fact I convinced myself I preferred. Solitude was safe, or so I thought, until the day Ethan walked into my world and turned it upside down. It was an ordinary afternoon, the library bathed in the golden glow of late sunlight filtering through the windows, when Ethan appeared. He approached the counter, his easy smile disarming, his voice carrying a warmth that felt like a ray of sunlight piercing through a stormy sky. "Hey, could you help me find a book?" he asked, his eyes crinkling at the corners with a playful charm. "I'm feeling adventurous today." I adjusted my glasses, trying to ignore the flutter in my chest. "Sure," I replied, my voice steady despite the sudden awareness of his gaze. "What genre are you interested in?" He leaned casually against the counter, his grin widening. "I don't know." "Surprise me," he said, as if the challenge of finding the perfect book was a delightful game. That moment marked the beginning of everything. Our conversations became the highlight of my days. Ethan returned regularly, asking for book recommendations, but soon our talks ventured beyond the pages of novels. We shared stories of our lives, my quiet existence in the library, his restless spirit seeking something undefined. He listened, truly listened, in a way that made me feel seen for the first time in years. His presence was a spark, igniting a part of me I hadn't known existed. One day, Ethan arrived with a determined glint in his eyes, leaning on the counter with a playful yet serious air. "You know, Rita, you're the most interesting person I've met in this town," he said, his voice low and earnest. "Why do you hide in here all day?" I laughed, the sound foreign to my own ears. "Where else would I go? This town isn't exactly bursting with excitement." His response was swift, his eyes gleaming with possibility. "Maybe you just need the right person to explore it with. How about dinner tonight?" My treat. I hesitated, unaccustomed to such bold invitations. My life was one of routine, not spontaneity. "I don't know, Ethan." "Come on," he coaxed, his confidence infectious. "What's the worst that could happen? You spend an evening with a guy who loves your book recommendations. I promise to make it worth your while. Show me this hidden gem of a town." Against my better judgment, I found myself agreeing. "Okay, sure. But no fancy places. I don't do well with all that pomp." "Deal," he said, his smile lighting up the dim library. "I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something comfortable." That night altered the course of my life. Ethan showed me corners of our sleepy town I'd never noticed, despite having lived there my entire life. We wandered down cobblestone alleys, shared stories under the glow of streetlights, and laughed. Deep, genuine laughter that felt like a rediscovery of joy. He listened to my dreams, my fears, and my quiet hopes, never once making me feel small. As we walked back to my apartment, he paused, his expression turning serious. "Rita, I know we've only just met, but there's something about you," he said, his voice soft yet resolute. "You're not like anyone I've ever known. You're genuine, and in a world full of pretenders, that's rare." I stood frozen, my heart racing. No one had ever spoken to me with such sincerity. "Ethan, my words faltered, overwhelmed by the weight of his gaze. He gently placed a finger on my lips, silencing me with a tender smile. "You don't have to say anything. Just know that I see you, Rita. I see the person you are, and I like what I see. From that moment, Ethan became the brightest part of my days. His warmth, his affection, his way of making me feel cherished, it was intoxicating. He called me beautiful, kind, intelligent, qualities I scarcely believed I possessed. The idea of forever with him began to feel not just possible, but inevitable. When he proposed, his eyes shining with sincerity, it felt like a dream. "Marry me, Rita," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "I can't imagine my life without you." "Yes," I breathed, a mix of exhilaration and disbelief swirling within me. But before we could dive into the whirlwind of wedding planning, there was a hurdle to clear: meeting Ethan's parents. He had warned me, his tone light but tinged with caution. "My folks have high standards for who I bring home, but don't worry, they'll love you once they see how amazing you are." His words did little to quell the anxiety gnawing at me. I was a nervous wreck before the meeting, rummaging through my wardrobe for an outfit that struck the elusive balance of modest yet dignified. Ethan, infuriatingly calm, offered little reassurance. "You're overthinking it, Rita. Just wear what you're comfortable in," he said, his casual demeanor only heightening my unease. The day arrived, and I settled on a simple blue dress, hoping it conveyed the right impression. As we drove to his parents' house, Ethan fiddled with the radio, seemingly unconcerned about the impending introduction. "You sure they're going to like me?" I asked, desperate for a shred of comfort. "They'll come around," he replied, his eyes briefly meeting mine before returning to the road. "Just be yourself." His laid-back attitude felt like a betrayal, a stark contrast to the storm of nerves raging inside me. Walking up to the door of his childhood home, my heart pounded, his earlier warnings echoing in my mind. The door swung open, and we were greeted by Ethan's parents, their expressions unreadable, their smiles polite but cold. Dinner was a gauntlet of veiled judgments and probing questions. Ethan's father, George, fixed me with a scrutinizing gaze. "So, Rita, Ethan tells us you work at a library. Do you see yourself doing that long-term?" His tone implied my job was beneath consideration. I fumbled for response, trying to sound confident. "I love working there. It's fulfilling in a way that's hard to explain," I said, hoping my passion would sway them. But Ethan remained silent, offering no support as I navigated their barrage of inquiries. His mother, Linda, chimed in with a saccharine smile. "It must be nice to have such a quaint job." I felt like a lone soldier on a battlefield, with Ethan retreating into the role of a passive observer. The drive home was shrouded in silence, the weight of the evening pressing down on me. "I thought you said they'd warm up to me," I finally said, my voice laced with hurt. Ethan shrugged, his nonchalance infuriating. "Give it time, Rita. They just need to get to know you better." His words offered no comfort, only a growing sense of isolation. Subsequent dinners with his parents were no better, each one a fresh interrogation. They viewed me with suspicion, as if I were a gold digger scheming to siphon Ethan's wealth I hadn't even known about until he mentioned it casually one evening. "My parents are old school," he said. "They worry about things like money and status." One night, Ethan returned home with a somber expression. "Babe, we need to talk," he said, avoiding my gaze. My stomach knotted with dread. "It's my parents. They're insisting we sign a prenup." The word felt like a slap. "A prenup?" I echoed, the bitterness sharp on my tongue. "Ethan, you know I don't care about your money, right?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, and I don't care about it either, not when it comes to us. But they're adamant. They think it'll protect both of us." The idea stung, a preemptive declaration of distrust. But my love for Ethan outweighed my pride. "Fine," I said sharply. "Let's sign it and be done with it. Your money, my money, whatever. I just want you." Relief washed over his face, and a part of me resented it. "Thank you, babe. I hate this as much as you do, but it's just a piece of paper. It won't change anything between us." So we signed the document, drafted by a lawyer his parents trusted. It ensured neither of us could claim the other's assets if the marriage failed. It felt like a betrayal, but I pushed the thought aside. Love would conquer all, wouldn't it? Our wedding was simple, just as I wanted. An intimate ceremony with close friends and the promise of forever. I moved into Ethan's house, a comfortable home that felt worlds apart from my old apartment. But his parents' proximity meant frequent, unannounced visits that were less about connection and more about scrutiny. Life with Ethan started as a fairy tale, but the shine quickly faded. His mother, Linda, was the first to reveal her true colors. She dropped by unannounced, her eyes scanning the house like a hawk. "Remember, this is Ethan's house. Everything here is his," she'd say, her voice dripping with condescension. I tried to stay composed. "I'm well aware, Linda. I'm not here for your son's things. I love him," she scoffed. "Love doesn't pay the bills, dear. If you ever leave, you leave with nothing." Her words were a constant reminder of my place in their world. George, Ethan's father, was no better, treating our home like his personal domain. They'd demand coffee, criticize my cooking, and expect me to serve them like a maid. "Grab us some chips, will you? And maybe wash those clothes piling up," George would say, barely glancing at me. The worst part was Ethan's silence. He'd laugh along, even adding his own jabs. "She's still learning how to do things right around here," he'd say, as if I were a child. The man I'd married was slipping away, replaced by someone dismissive and cruel. "Do you even hear yourself?" I'd confront him after they left. "How can you let them treat me like this?" "Babe, they're just set in their ways," he'd say, brushing it off. "They don't mean anything by it. Plus, we're on their dime. Can't bite the hand that feeds, right?" His words cut deep, reducing me to a freeloader in his eyes. My job at the library, which I loved, was a source of mockery for them, another reason to belittle me. The days blurred into a haze of resentment until an unremarkable Tuesday changed everything. I was shelving books when a sharp pain in my stomach doubled me over. It wasn't just stress, it was something serious. Hours later, I found myself in a hospital bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic heavy in the air. Alone, in pain, and with no word from Ethan, I felt I'd hit rock bottom. Then came a knock at the door. "Rita Turner?" A man in a suit stood in the doorway, holding a briefcase. He looked out of place in the sterile room. "That's me. Who are you?" My voice was weak, drained by pain and disappointment. "I'm Michael Johnson, a notary. I have something important to discuss." His tone was formal, but his eyes held a kindness that piqued my curiosity. I motioned for him to continue. "It's about your great-uncle, Edward Turner. He passed away recently, and you're his sole heir. He left you an inheritance." The words didn't register at first. "Are you sure you've got the right person? I haven't seen him in 15 years. Michael nodded. "Quite sure. He was a private man but always remembered you. He wanted to ensure you were taken care of." He opened his briefcase, laying out documents with a calm efficiency. "Your great-uncle was a man of considerable wealth. You're inheriting $20 million, shares in several major companies, a mansion in a prestigious area, an antique car, and a collection of rare furniture and paintings." I blinked, struggling to process the magnitude of his words. $20 million? I echoed, my voice cracking. "A mansion? An antique car?" Michael smiled faintly. "Yes. The shares are significant stakes in profitable firms. The mansion is a historic estate with acres of land. The car is a fully restored classic, a collector's dream. The furniture and paintings are centuries-old antiques. Your great-uncle had a taste for the finer things." The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with the weight of his words. "So, I've inherited a fortune, company shares, a mansion, a car, and art? That's unbelievable." "It's all yours, Rita," he said gently. "Your great-uncle saw something special in you." Special. The word felt foreign, especially in that moment, lying in a hospital bed after months of feeling worthless. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson," I said, overwhelmed. "This is a lot to take in." "We'll take it one step at a time," he assured me. "I'm here to help." My phone buzzed. Ethan's name flashing on the screen for the first time in days. I ignored it, turning back to Michael. What happens now? We'll process the paperwork, but the inheritance is yours. Your life is about to change.
Change it did.
News of my windfall reached Ethan and his parents, and their behavior shifted overnight. They visited the hospital daily, Ethan fussing over my blanket with exaggerated concern. "How are you feeling, love?" he'd ask, his voice dripping with a sweetness that didn't match his eyes. Linda was worse, her theatrics almost comical. "Darling, I'll cook your favorite lasagna when you're home," she said, her smile forced. Their sudden attentiveness was suffocating, and suspicion gnawed at me. One day, after their visit, I summoned the strength to follow them, my heart racing as I hid behind a corner. Their laughter, harsh and mocking, cut through the air. "Can you believe how easy it is?" Ethan said, chuckling. "She's eating right out of our hands." Linda's voice was cold, calculating. "Make sure she has a baby with you, Ethan. Once she does, she'll never leave us. Then we'll have a real hold on her fortune." Their words were a knife to the heart, confirming what I'd feared. They saw me as a pawn, a means to secure their future. Silently, I returned to my bed, their cruelty fueling a resolve within me. They'd underestimated me, but I was done playing their game. Back home after my discharge, the tension was palpable. Ethan and his parents greeted me with feigned concern, their eyes gleaming with greed. "Babe, you're home," Ethan said, his voice a mix of sweetness and calculation. "How are you feeling? We've been so worried." I met his gaze, seeing the stranger he'd become. "I'm better, thanks. But we need to talk, all of us." Linda stepped forward, her hands clasped in mock sincerity. "Of course, dear. We're here for you." I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I'm filing for divorce, Ethan. And no, you won't see a dime of my inheritance." The room fell silent, Ethan's face paling as his mask slipped. "Divorce?
But why?"
I thought we were happy." Happy. The word was bitter on my tongue. "You and your parents have made my life miserable. You've treated me like a servant, not a wife. And now you're only here because I'm worth something to you." Linda jumped in, her voice sharp. "This is nonsense. We've treated you like family. You're imagining things." I pulled the prenuptial agreement from my bag, waving it before them. "This saved me. You thought you could manipulate me, but I'm not the naive girl you took me for." George, silent until now, spoke with a mix of anger and defeat. "You'll regret this. We're your family." "No," I said firmly. "A family doesn't treat someone like dirt and then turn sweet when money's involved. I'm done." Moving into my own apartment was a revelation, a small, cozy space that felt like a declaration of freedom. The calls started almost immediately. Ethan's desperate pleas, Linda's guilt-tripping rants. "Rita, please, we can work this out," Ethan begged. "It's over, Ethan," I said, my voice unwavering. "Accept it." Linda's tone was venomous. "Ungrateful. After everything we've done, you owe us." "I owe you nothing," I replied, hanging up and severing the last tie to that toxic life. The divorce was a clean break, a liberation from a past that had nearly consumed me. Through friends, I learned of the fallout between Ethan and his parents, the prenup they'd insisted on now a source of their strife. The irony was poetic. With my great-uncle's inheritance, I found purpose. I donated generously to charities close to my heart, causes that could change lives. But my true passion was the bookstore I opened, a cozy haven for lovers of rare and old books. It was my way of reconnecting with the world on my terms, surrounded by stories that had always been my refuge. My journey had been fraught with pain and betrayal, but standing in my bookstore, the scent of aged paper in the air, I knew I'd found my true, happy ending. It wasn't just about escaping Ethan and his family, it was about rediscovering myself, my strength, and my love for life. Here's to new beginnings. I toasted quietly one evening after closing the shop, raising a glass to the uncertain but promising road ahead. The future was mine to shape, filled with possibilities and the joy of a life reclaimed. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.